The controversy in the Commonwealth of Virginia is only deepening. Attorney General Mark Herring now admits that when he was 19 years old in 1980, he dressed up as an African-American rapper with a brown makeup and a wig. Now it comes after a racist yearbook photo was found on the medical yearbook pages of Governor Ralph Northam. And accusations of sexual assault against Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, the second in line, have come to light. This puts the state's three highest positions, I have to mention they are all Democrats, in a firestorm of media coverage and uncertainty for the state's governor. For more, we turn to Mercer, Director of Development Policy at the State Assembly for the Whole Child Strategies. And we talk usually about schools with you, but this actually does have to do with schools because now you're looking in Virginia, talking about the past. Do you think this is I feel like we're living through confession time right now. Is this a positive, though, that people are admitting their past negative and hateful attitudes in hopes of being able to move past that in the future? Or is this just all for show because they want to do it before they get caught?
Well, you know, one of the things I think always is important to look at history. And in the 19th century, when the caricature of blackface began, this conversation of what we put into the culture as an acceptable premise. Now we've come to this 21st century where we're looking back and we're saying, hey, these things were wrong. I think it is a good time for us to have a conversation in this country about this history, look at people's past, have people say, you know what, I made a mistake. Now, where do we go from that point? The idea that we continue to have conversations around condemnation, I mean, this is something that I think we need to now look at, okay, how do we move from condemnation to healing? Because now the country is in a place where this division, this understanding of our history, we've never actually dealt with it, and now this is pulling up to the forefront, we now need to move forward.
Well, that's the thing, is moving forward with this. Now, we got to separate out the three different issues. You do have a sexual assault. Actually, how he's handled it is the one problem with the lieutenant governor. The other two are issues that have surfaced from 20, 30 years ago. An issue that I've had with it is that it just shows, this is Virginia. You and I both live in the South. I've grown up in the South. Right. It does not surprise me. It saddens me deeply, but it does not surprise me that you see this type. I mean, you do have most of the elected officials from the time South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee. This is just how life was back then. Do you think people, as you said, moving on, redemption from it, but if this had not been made a national headline, if this had not been pointed out by somebody in a political type way, to political targeting, do you think these ever on their own would have this type of confession?
You know what?
Organically, that would be
organically.
Do you think they would organically just say, you know what, I need to say what I did in the wrong?
You know what? We now have Liam Neeson, who came out and said, actually, this is something happened 40 years ago. He actually came out organically in the time and admitted what his passions or his thoughts were around the incident and how it made him feel in the actions he thought he was going to take. I think Liam Neeson's actions of admitting it organically have come from the fact that we're now raising these issues. I think now the conversation of who we are as a country has come to the forefront for various reasons over the last decade, over the last 20 years. And we're saying, okay, how do we now respond to these issues? How do we now respond to the conversation of who we are and the values that we hold and the country we want to be moving going forward? And so, no, I think it's been a good thing that these things have been brought to the forefront. Again, the question always for me is, now that we're here, do we continue to mire in this position, or do we say, here's where we now create a solution of a conversation to move forward?
Well, talking about a solution to a conversation moving forward, I have to bring in what your day job is, which is why we had you in D.C. originally before this. We're talking about charter schools. And President Trump once again mentioned it in his speech that he is all for charter schools. It's the line that most Republicans use, actually, when they're giving a speech. It's a campaign point. This is something that actually a lot of minorities can agree with, that parents just want a choice of where their kids go to school. And that's what often charter schools do, except we find, does it ever actually happen? Are you optimistic after hearing last night President Trump mentioning charter schools that we might actually see something happen in the next 2 years with it?
Well, the last 4 presidents have spoken about the advancement of this model of charter schools inside of our American educational system. They're going to put money, and there's been increases. The question, though, for me is, where are we going with this conversation? Where are we going with this model? How is the federal government now, with funding, saying to states, here's what we would like to see? I think there needs to be more of a talk around not necessarily the model and then we're going to fund, but you're actually giving initiatives and frameworks to states saying, states, here's how we'd like to see this moving forward. Here's the importance of this inside of our educational context. And I don't think we've ever had that. I just think that we've said, we're going to help fund, here's what it's going to look like, and just move forward.
And just like we started off our conversation about, it's about actually moving forward with it and seeing what actions you're going to take in response. Is how we know whether or not we can heal and go forward on across the board. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.